Hello and welcome again to Sporting Chance. Tonight we're guaranteed another remarkable half-hour display of sporting brilliance with the second semi-final match in this our knockout series. Over the past weeks, all our teams have proved what a tremendous depth of general sports knowledge exists in the region, and the teams who've made it through to the last four really are top class. Neither of the sides hoping to win that vacant place in the grand final have reached the rarefied atmosphere of a Sporting Chance semi-final before. In fact, the Rose from Wallsend were a new name to the competition this year, but they've shown the form that's made them one of the Tyneside Quiz League's most improved sides. Kevin Spencer sells advertising space for Newcastle's evening newspaper. His back page interests centre on Newcastle United, though he enjoys playing most sports. So too does the man next to him, Barry Wilkinson. Certainly he'll need his breadth of interest in the Supersport round. Barry works as a careers officer. Sporting guest for the Rose is Kirsty McDermott, whose performances on our quiz have been as sure-footed as when she won her gold medal in the Commonwealth Games 800 metres. And at number 4, the Rose have Ray Nicholson. Ray is currently studying computers, though his own sporting memory bank has been acquiring knowledge over a much longer period. Well, the Rose gained an impressive win in their previous match, but so did their semi-final opponents, who disposed of last year's runners-up. The Engine Wallbottle have been on the right track throughout the series and have emerged as one of the surprise teams of this year's competition. Their first man is Gordon Dowse. He's a shipyard worker who feels that taking part in quizzes gives him more entertainment these days than watching the actual sports events themselves. Barry Howbridge is a teacher whose individual form so far has proved that he's as well equipped to absorb information as to pass it on. Their guest, David Mills, must certainly be one of the great experts on Middlesbrough Football Club, where he spent so much of his career and is still top scorer and coach. And finally, we meet Brian Hannaford, who completes a scholarly lineup as the team's second school teacher. Brian is keen on both rugby and Newcastle United. We kick off in this semi-final with our usual early test of speed of recall. So stand by those buzzers for an opening round of quick-fire questioning. 2 points for a correct answer, as ever. Who in 1957 was the Surrey player who became the first ever player to take 7 catches in one innings? Barry Wilkinson.
Mickey Stewart.
Correct. Who was the British athlete who broke both the world 3,000 and 5,000 metre records within 3 days in June 1956? Barry Howbridge.
Ibbotson.
It wasn't Ibbotson, Barry Wilkinson.
Gordon Pirrie.
Gordon Pirrie it was indeed. For which speedway team did 1984 world champion Eric Gunderson ride at the time of his success? Kevin Spencer.
Cradley Heath.
Cradley Heath is correct. Well, we like to test the team's memories in as many different ways as possible on Sporting Chance, so let's show them the first of our well-known moments from the sporting past. Here it is coming up right now. Piece of darts history. What was the history?
It was the first 9-dart finish.
The first, no, I'm not going to give you that. It was the first televised 9-dart finish. There have been 9-dart finishes before. It's the first time that we've had one on the box. Had to be absolute stickler there because it's such a well-known incident indeed. So that's the first round out of the way, but let's see how the two teams have fared. And the Rose Wallsend have sprinted off into a little bit of a lead. They've got 6 points. The Engine Wallbottle still to get off the mark. Let's waste no more time and put our two sporting guests under a spot of pressure here. After all, they're probably more used to this level of competition than most of the contestants. Remember, each guest is shown a clip of action from their own sports past. Then there are 3 questions to deal with. For the Rose, the guest is Kirsty McDermott, and that, of course, means the subject is athletics. So here's a famous race for you to watch. Well, Kirsty, that was a milestone in women's athletics. Can you name the athlete and the record she broke?
Ingrid Christensen, and it was the 5,000 metres.
That's right. She was the first woman under 15 minutes for the 5,000 metres when she recorded 14:58.9 at the 84 Bislett Games in Oslo. The world's previous best time was set by Zola Budd while still in South Africa, but the British record for the distance is not held by Zola. Who holds it? 5,000 metres, British record holder.
Anne Ford.
It wasn't Anne Ford, it was Paula Fudge. 15, 14, 51. Narvik in 1981. Longer than your distance, but semi-final this, remember. Going back to Ingrid Christensen, she went on to break the world marathon record in London this year with her 2:21:06 performance. Whose record did she break?
Joan Benoit.
Joan Benoit of the United States, 2:22:43 at Boston 1983. So 4 points out of 6 there for Kirsty. Over now to the engine, who are represented by Middlesbrough's David Mills. I'm sure David won't mind me saying that he's been around the football scene a fair while now, so let's see how much he can remember about this goal-scoring action. You name the two teams and the goal scorer, please, David.
The goal scorer was Jairzinho.
That's right.
The two teams were Brazil and Italy.
Brazil and Italy, 1970 World Cup final in Mexico. Brazil won 4-1. Great World Cup series 70 was. Can you remember what piece of football history did Jairzinho create with that goal?
He scored in every game, including the final.
That's right, first to score in every round of the World Cup finals. 2 more points there for David. Despite this, Jairzinho was not the top goal scorer in those finals. Can you remember who was? Go for it.
Boninsegna.
It wasn't one of the finalists. In fact, it was one of the great goal scorers of the 70s, the bomber Gerd Muller of West Germany. He got 10 goals in the 70 finals. So 4 points as well for David. Even Stephen for the two guests. Let's see how the teams look though. And the Rose Wallsend have 10 points, but the engine, they're now off and running, I suppose you could say. They've got 4 points. In round 3, our teams have to identify the face of a famous sports personality, but we make it as difficult as we can for them by first only showing them a sort of identikit picture, and then gradually filling in all the details. The more details a team needs, the fewer points they can earn. We start with the Rose. 5 points is the maximum score here. You can only answer once between you, so how quickly can you put a name to this face? Now for 4 points. A little bit more. 3 points now. 2 points. Ray Nicholson.
Bjorn Borg.
It is indeed Bjorn Borg, 5 times Wimbledon champion. It's the old headband, I think, perhaps sort of gave it away there at the end there. But now we go over to the engine, and another famous face from the world of sport to name for you. Here it is, of course, in outline only first. Brian Hannaford's coming in.
Derek Randall.
That's an excellent dive in there. A maximum of 5 points for Derek Randall, the Notts England Test cricketer, and one of the most entertaining players in the game, surely. That certainly favoured the brave there, the old fortunes. So let's look at the scoreboard and just see how much difference that answer has made. And that's done them the world of good. The Rose Wallsend 12, and the engine right back up there now. They've got 9 points.